you want to just start by telling me first kind of your overall reaction to ranking number 39 out of 50 in the most desirable state capitals?
We see a lot of these rankings. We see them all the time. A lot of websites will do these to push you to their website. I see better numbers. We were the most affordable city in the nation a few years ago. AARP has named us as one of the top 5 places to live for seniors. We were named one of the top places to remote work. So I don't know the metrics. I would certainly disagree, but we're always working to do more here in the city. A quarter of it was education, and I know our superintendent and school board is working very hard, bringing our scores up. My kids went to the schools there, and my daughter's at the University of Michigan, so I know kids can and will be successful. I know there's a great diversity and learning that you wouldn't get in other areas, and I don't know if any of that was calculated. I know that quality of life is one of the issues, and we certainly have had the state shut down and then come back mostly remotely, and that has affected our quality of life, but we are fixing that by doing housing. And you've seen the New Vision Lansing, a 28-story tower. You just did a story today on 115 new units of affordable housing, so we're working on all of that. So there's a lot of things going on. I certainly appreciate being ranked 14 in...
We're up there, 16 for affordability.
Right, 16 in affordability, although we were ranked number 1 in affordability just a few years ago, so I don't know how they're different than Livability magazine. Business Insider put us at the top 30 places to live post-pandemic. So again, it's certainly fun to see these rankings. I don't know how they were done. I certainly know that there are lots of great capital cities, and I am friends with many of the capital city mayors, and I've been to many of them. So I take it for what it's worth. I can tell you that there's a lot that's happened, and there's a lot more that's going to happen. I recently said that Lansing's time is now, and the best is yet to come. And I do believe we have so much that's coming. You're going to see many cranes in the air over the summer, and there's just a lot of great things going on in Lansing. And again, I certainly appreciate when someone looks at our city from the outside, and I disagree with this one, but there's lots going on.
And it sounds like we've got, some, you mentioned some things in the works. I don't want to steal but like Ovation and there are other,
yes.
There are plans in the works to, things that would likely boost up some of these numbers.
Yeah, I can't wait. I'm curious to see next year how they rate it when we have a new performing arts center. We have Gray Wall Hall now that's bringing concerts downtown. I don't know if that is part of the equation or if this was before Gray Wall Hall was there. We're going to have a new city hall, and then the current city hall is going to be a hotel. I don't know if they have taken into account, again, the 115 affordable housing units that we're putting up to help take care of many of the folks that want to get vouchers and that are lower income that need housing. I don't know if they're calculating the 28-story tower that's going to have a combination of workforce and market rate living. So you're talking about work on affordability, work on livability, work on, our schools are doing so much, bringing up test scores. We're seeing that the numbers of students are going up, the graduation rates are going up. I don't know if it calculated any of that. There's a lot of work going on in all of these areas, and I expect that we're doing real well. A lot of people want to live here, and we know that because of the housing shortage. The more housing we build, the more people want to live in our downtown, and that's really what matters to me. Again, I love all of our capital cities, and if it were up to me, they would all be number 1, because capital cities are the best cities in the state. But different cities have different issues. Again, we have state employees that are working remotely, so we are solving that problem with housing. Other cities don't have that problem. I know DC does. DC is running through that issue, although I believe they're being called back to work. So it's a different situation in every city, and I am confident that Lansing is a place that people want to be, and that we're going to have these incredible amenities and housing resources. And shops and restaurants and parks and all these other things. You know, did they count the All Ability Park that we have, which is packed? So I don't know what the rankings were based on, but there's a lot going on in Lansing, and you know it because you cover it every day.
You touched on it, and I know you have to be political and say, well, they're all number one. You've been to,
Many.
you mentioned many of these cities, you're friends with a bunch of these mayors. How would you say that Lansing kind of stacks up against at least the other capital cities that you're familiar with?
You know, I think there's two different levels of capital cities. There's kind of the big capital, there's the Atlantas, right? The big capital cities, and then there's the smaller capital cities. You know, Frankfurt is a nice capital city in Kentucky. Trying to think of what other ones I've been to. I haven't been anywhere. Olympia in Washington. We went out there a few years ago. That was it was small. That was a nice capital city. Then you get some of the bigger ones, you know, that it's just not the same. It's apples and oranges. So I think it depends. It depends on the size of the capital city. But I think we stack up very well. I think many capital cities are the same. They have state government. So you have some non-taxable properties. You have capitals where there are events going on. There was a protest at the Capitol today, at our Capitol today, and we see them all the time. You see with capital cities, you have a lot of foot traffic because people are there visiting their state government or doing things. So I think there's a lot of similarities for the size of city.
We talked to the people who did the study, and they're like, oh, too bad this isn't Greater Lansing, because then, you know, you have East Lansing, MSU, some of that stuff kind of might get factored in. And I mentioned that before the interview, and you took a little bit of umbrage to that. Not to knock East Lansing.
No. We're all, you know, we all, I love all of our neighbors, but it drives me crazy when people say, you know, you can't get a good education in Lansing schools. And I think that is false. You know, my kids went there and had a great education. My daughter's at the University of Michigan. And I think when someone gets into the University of Michigan or Michigan State or, you know, some of these bigger schools that are hard to get into, that shows that the schools are doing a good job. My kids learned more in terms of people, right? Lansing has a greater diversity than many schools. And I think that our schools are a great asset for our city and for the region. And so I push back a little bit on that. You know, I think that I'm sure Okemos is a wonderful place to live. I like Lansing. I like the density. I don't need a bigger plot of land and having that density in Lansing. You know, I love our neighbors in Holt and Delta Township and DeWitt. I like Lansing. I like what I can get in Lansing, and I think that any one of those folks can compete as well and show that they have incredible things. But I think that Lansing is just as great of a community as our neighbors. Together we make a great region, but independently, I think Lansing is a wonderful city to live, to visit, to work, to recreate, to worship. So I would push back that we need others to stand out. I think we stand out on our own, but we happily join others to stand out as a region.
Anything I'm missing? Anything you want to add?
No, that's good.
Okay.